latest on the street terror launched by the followers of arrested self-styled Godman, or rather rape convict Gurmeet Ram Rahim. In a security crackdown, over 550 people have been taken into custody for the violence in which 30 people were killed. Large amounts of arms and ammunition have also been seized now. After violent protests is on Friday, it's been a peaceful night and no fresh incidents have been reported from Panchkula. Security has been beefed up in several parts of northern India as the authorities remain on a tight vigil, fearing further clashes. Curfew was imposed in Syria, Panchkula, Kaithal in Haryana as the followers of Ram Rahim Singh restored to large-scale arson and rioting. 250 trains were cancelled to Rohtak, where Ram Rahim Singh was taken to a makeshift prison as well. 6 columns of army were deployed in Haryana's Panchkula, the epicenter of Friday's violence, while 2 columns were deployed in Sirsa, where the headquarters of Ram Rahim Singh-led sect is located.
ये सारे शहरों में एक्सेप्ट सरसा में बिल्कुल शांति है, अमन है। सिर्फ सरसा में, क्योंकि सरसा में उनका डेरा है, डेरे में उनके अनुयायी काफी संख्या में वहां अंदर रहते भी हैं और कुछ लोग आए हुए थे, तो उनमें थोड़ा सा गुस्सा था। वहां पे भी उन्होंने थोड़ी आगजनी की घटनाएं की है। वहां भी पुलिस ने कंट्रोल करने के लिए फायरिंग की है, जिसमें 1 आदमी की मौत हुई है और 4 आदमी इंजर्ड हैं।
In neighbouring Punjab, 10 districts have been put under curfew to avoid any incidents of violence. Punjab Chief Minister Amrinder Singh said the decision to call the army was taken to prevent any loss of life and damage to public property. Offices and educational institutes in Punjab will be closed today. Now, violence also spread to parts of the national capital region. In Delhi, as buses of empty coaches were set ablaze in some areas. Prohibitory orders have been imposed in all districts of Delhi except Central District and the North District. The administration has put in place prohibitory orders till September 8. 5 miscreants were earlier arrested as they tried to set buses on fire. Delhi Transport Corporation has suspended interstate bus services to the affected areas and states. Security has been tightened in Uttar Pradesh as well, including Meerut, Ghaziabad, Noida, Saharanpur, Shamli, Muzaffarnagar, Bulandshahr, Baghpat and Hapur. And also in Hanumangarh districts of Rajasthan, which have been put on high alert after violence erupted in the area. Mobile services have been suspended in the areas to maintain law and order. Both the districts are home to many of Ram Rahim's followers. And to discuss more on this, we have the former Director General NSG, Mr. T.R. Kakkar. Good morning, Mr. Kakkar. Let's begin this discussion by me asking you, more than 30 dead, 250 people injured, a state burned down for 1 rape convict. Whatever happened to the security measures?
You see, only if precautions had been taken before the verdict was given by the court, things would have been much better and this sort of damage could have been avoided. Damage would still have been there, but all these loss of life and injuries and destruction of property could be avoided. You see, I feel that the district administration or the state administration perhaps had their hands tied behind their back, and they did not do what an ordinary, what a district magistrate or district superintendent of police does in such circumstances. Their hands were tied perhaps by somebody. I don't want to really go into that. Otherwise, we know the character of this man, we know the people who are his followers, we know that there is always a boasting and violence and things like that could take place. Right in the beginning, say about 4 days before the event, all his people, people who really mattered in those addas and all that, whatever they call them, could have been taken into preventive custody, and once 144 was imposed, it should have been implemented. Perhaps there was some some problem somewhere because he has a large political following, and he probably the political parties want to curry favors with him. Not this, but the other part. Before this, there were other parties. Similarly, that was his blackmailing power. That was his blackmailing power, and even after they had all reached Panchkula, a large majority of them. I don't see any reason why they are not cornered in a particular place rather than all over the place. And then they could have been cordoned off. But again I am saying that I don't think the professional approach was allowed by someone in the entire episode.
Right.
Only if there was a professional approach,
Interestingly, sir, if we talk about a professional approach, so to say, when these Dera followers were there when the judgment was supposed to come out in the Panchkula CBI Special Court, the police had assured that these are peaceful protests and this mob will not turn violent. Even before the judgment would come out, some in anticipation were happy. Some already started the process of vandalizing property and destroying, media vans and other things. What one doesn't understand is, couldn't this mob be taken away before this had happened? And what are the security lapses we're looking at? I mean, even though there were Delhi High Court orders, this is a controlled administrative lapse. And just to remind you, sir, we also know that there was a report sent out particularly to the police and the district administration saying that this mob is armed with petrol and diesel bombs. They have sharp-edged instruments like knives and other lathis, so to say. They could have been confiscated. These particular warnings were ignored. This is not a jarred agitation where you know what time the mob would turn violent. Here they had all the details. They still didn't act. What should be done? How will they come up with an explanation on this?
See, nobody, I don't think, whatever explanation the administration is now advancing, I will not agree with that. I will not agree with that because we knew that this crowd had incendiary bombs, they had petrol bombs, they had lathis, and they were pronouncing in the open that should something happen, हम खून का बदला खून से लेंगे, हम खून कर देंगे, हम यहाँ से जाए. So once these things are there, the intelligence could have, I'm sure the intelligence must have gathered. I am again saying at the cost of reputation that professional approach in this very serious case was not allowed by somebody. And reasons are absolutely known to us. We know the reasons why. Till the last minute, we felt that this crowd, which was equipped with a lot of lathis and weapons and petrol bombs and all that, everything was there, will not turn violent. Thinking like this itself is non-professional. When such a crowd comes, you presume that there could be violence, and this could be is enough for us to make all arrangements. Now, what crime had the people of the city committed that they had to suffer 3 days of incarceration in their own homes? Schools and other things were closed. They should not have been allowed to come to Panchkula. And if somebody tells me that they were peaceful and they were this, obviously either the person does not know the character of the behavior of these people who are his followers, or he is deliberately trying to say that no, we were careful and we would have done that. I only hope that in future, Haryana is a very volatile state, whether be that the Jats, be that these people, there are plenty of Deras. If not, then there are other Deras. I wish from the Rambal Dera the administration had learned some lesson. Well, ultimately that was handled very nicely. Now, after the incident, things are good. Things are absolutely good. The firing had to be resorted to save the population, the properties, etc. Whatever happened on the first 5-6 hours is okay. But then after that, things happen. Now that curfews have been imposed, now that firing takes place, now that you have to do this. I'm only saying that I hope the state government learns a lesson now at least. So that
we hope, Mr. Kakkar, that they've learned the lesson even after the Jat agitation. I firmly disagree with you. I don't think they've learned a lesson when it comes to protecting their so-called Godman. They haven't really worked out the security situation of Haryana. It's been under attack again and again. Coming to you, Raghavendra, the security situation, of course, is not under control, wasn't under control last night. 32 people killed, 200 injured. Again, a question, a state bound for a rape convict. I wouldn't say a Godman, a rape convict. And what are you hearing from today? What is the security situation in the 3 states where Section 144 has been imposed?
Well, Jessica, the situation continues to be volatile right across Punjab and Haryana. The kind of violence that has been witnessed yesterday, the authorities are apprehending that it could escalate in the day today, and all efforts are being made to ensure that the kind of scenes which were witnessed yesterday are not repeated today. Now, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh is expected to chair a high-level meeting here in Delhi to discuss this matter. National Security Advisor, Home Secretary and other senior officials of the Government of India are expected to attend that meeting. They may even hold a video conferencing with the Haryana and Punjab DGPs. The centre has been constantly monitoring the situation. They are in touch with both the chief ministers. Both the chief ministers, Mr. Manohar Lal Khattar in Haryana and Captain Amrinder Singh in Punjab, have been making the right noises. They are saying that the situation is improving. They have been assuring the centre that gradually the situation will be brought under control. But today is a very crucial day. If this situation is not controlled by the end of the day today, we can expect much more trouble, because the quantum of punishment is to be announced on August 28th. That is Monday. And that could be another day when all these followers of the Dera, also called premis, they could create much more trouble in Panchkula. Also, to prevent any further trouble and to prevent the kind of carnage we witnessed yesterday, already there is a talk of making Gurmeet Ram Rahim depose for the Monday's hearing through video conferencing. So that is a possibility which is being explored. He could depose through video conferencing right from Rohtak, where he's being kept in a prison. These are the measures which are being thought about. But yes, right across Punjab and Haryana, in smaller towns, the situation is extremely volatile. Hordes and hordes of Dera followers have been gathering in all these places. We have seen and heard visuals from Panchkula, because most of the media attention was on Panchkula since the verdict was delivered there. But the fact that internet connectivity was down throughout most of the areas in Punjab and Haryana, that was one factor that led to a situation where the news of disturbances in these areas has not really percolated down.
Right. Thank you, Raghavendra. Do stay with us. Coming back to you, Mr. Kakkar, we heard the Chief Minister say yesterday, this should not have happened. We were prepared for the situation. We tried to stop them, but it was a very big mob. Now, since you're the former Director General of the NSG, our viewers would like to understand, is that in a situation like this, how do the senior, sort of a person who's a chief minister of the state, senior administrators, how do they explain these lapses? They were prepared, but they couldn't do anything. It's like saying prevention is better than cure, but we couldn't prevent, but we only have cure now.
There is nothing strange. After the event, every political leader makes such statements that we had taken all precautions, very adequate precautions. We had probably made arrangements to see that violence doesn't take place. But in fact, on the ground, did that really happen? It did not, because till the mob went violent, I think there was a very soft approach to this crowd and to Ram Rahim, that rapist. You see, only if, before the judgment was given, sufficient arrangements had been made, things would have been entirely different. Now, but I just heard, and I've also read the newspapers, that adequate arrangements are now being made in all districts of Haryana, Punjab, and that certain restrictions have been imposed. My only concern is, once you impose the restriction, you impose the law, please implement it so that people know that this is what the restriction is, and therefore they have to abide by it. And if they don't abide by it, then they suffer. I think now both the state governments, both Punjab and Haryana, at least now mean total business, and they would not allow the situation go out of hand. I'm very sure, because it is not the leaders handling, now it is the professionals handling, and therefore when the professionals are handling, they know what to do in a particular situation, because they have so much of experience behind them. Look at the DG, look at the Chief Secretary, look at the District Magistrate. They all have experience, they have dealt with it. They may not have dealt with such large crowd, but they definitely know what is to be done. And it is time that the Haryana DGP, Haryana Chief Secretary and the district DMs and the SPs are given a free hand with just one direction, that they have to control the situation. And believe me, if this sort of instruction is given, they will control it.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Kakkar. Coming back to you, Raghavendra, do you think they were not given a free hand when it comes to dealing with mob violence? We've seen the same mob violence again and again. But do you think that the kind of property destruction, the loss of lives that has, taken place in the last couple of hours, in fact, just last night and last evening, what needs to be done here? I mean, are we going to wait for the forces to come in and help the commoners who are suffering in those areas? How does the security lapse always not taken care of? How is it that always a security situation is created, especially in the state of Haryana? Do explain our viewers.
Well, Jessica, to put things into perspective, we must understand that this was not an intelligence failure. The state government had all the intel. The authorities knew what was coming. The fact that the army and the paramilitary was being requisitioned, the fact that school, colleges, educational institutions and establishments were being shut down for 2 days in anticipation of this verdict, it just goes on to show that the authorities were very well aware of what could happen if there was an adverse verdict against Gurmeet Ram Rahim. I think the biggest failure happened when the state of Haryana allowed these thousands and thousands of Dera followers to trickle into Panchkula over a period of almost a week. What started as a trickle actually ended up as a huge gathering of people. Now, till yesterday, we were talking about 70 to 80,000 people, but fresh estimates are now pegging the number of Dera followers in Panchkula at close to 2 lakh. So you can imagine, Panchkula is a very small satellite township of Chandigarh. The district is fairly big enough, but Panchkula city, Panchkula town is a very small place. 2 lakh people descending upon a small place like Panchkula, camping themselves in open spaces and parks and lawns and waiting for a verdict. And once the verdict is adverse towards their leader, they go on the rampage. I think the biggest failure was to first allow these people to get into Panchkula into such in such large numbers. Secondly, the failure to impose and implement Section 144 of the CRPC, which prohibits gathering of more than 4 people. So, and even then, the state government had the opportunity of evicting many of these people, say a day before or 2 days before the verdict. We normally see whenever there are protests anywhere in the country, the authorities always are, they can always be seen using the civil police, the state police, to evict protesters from a spot using, various transportation means. Buses and other vehicles are usually employed. The failure is that they anticipated everything, they knew what could follow, but they just failed to act. Probably it was a sense of complacency. Probably the Haryana government was under the impression that all these people were just gathering to catch a glimpse of their leader. But it's a far-fetched argument, so to say, because I for one, would never believe that the Haryana government did not see what was coming.
Absolutely agree with you there, Raghavendra. Thank you, both of you. Both Raghavendra, our senior correspondent, and Mr. Kakkar, former DIG, NSG, to join us on the program and discuss this heating issue. Now, moving on, United Kingdom and Canada have issued safety advisories to their citizens travelling to India. The governments have asked its citizens to exercise a high degree of caution following widespread violence after the conviction of self-styled Godman. The UK authorities have asked the India-bound travellers to follow advice of the local authorities and monitor local media. Canada, on the other hand, has asked its citizens to the affected areas to not tread there and to limit their movements and to exercise a high degree of caution as tensions are expected to rise. President Ramnath Kovind and Prime Minister Modi have also condemned the violence and have urged the followers of Ram Rahim to maintain peace. In a series of tweets, Prime Minister Narendra Modi called the instances of violence distressing and have urged officials to restore normalcy. Prime Minister Modi is closely monitoring the law and order situation in the states and have reviewed the situation with National Security Advisor Ajit Doval and Home Secretary Rajiv Mehrishi. Meanwhile, Congress President Sonia Gandhi has also expressed shock at the unabated violence in Panchkula and other parts of Haryana. Remember, at least 30 people have been killed and more than 250 injured in this violence.